everybody. This is Sylvia with Odyssey of Enlightenment, and today we have Valerie, and she's sharing her story about love, romance, and the concept of twin flames and soulmates. Hi, Valerie. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm so excited to share your story, for you to share your story, because when you shared it with me, oh my God, I was blown away, and I can only aspire to, like, wow, dream of a love like that. And I feel like this can help a lot of people. And not only that, but like help us to understand that whole concept of twin flames, because I feel like I don't know a lot about it. And I've often wondered if my relationship, uh, what are the guidelines, or what qualifies a relationship as a twin flame relationship. And then also like soulmates, like what's the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate? Although I do feel like we can have multiple soulmates, right?
Absolutely.
And then but twin flame is like, whoa, like it's a serious
Right.
once in a lifetime thing, if you even have that.
Right. If you even have it, because not everybody has one. And it's one of those things that when you have decided to incarnate here on earth, you have a soul contract. Everybody has a soul contract. You sign these different contracts with all of the different things in them. One of those things being whether or not you're going to have a twin flame and have that journey. So that I know of, I am on that I can recall, my third lifetime with my twin flame. He's getting ready to be on his fourth, and we can go into that here in just a little bit. Sounds kind of weird that I am still here, and it will be my third and it will be his fourth, but we'll get there. As far as a twin flame, there is a lot of things that you can Google about twin flames. There's a lot of like new hype and new age type stuff about twin flames, how it's so romantic and so wonderful and so everything, and it's everything that you want and more and blah blah blah. And it's, let me just tell you, okay, a twin flame is fantastic, it is wonderful, it is all of the above. However, it is not without battle, it's not without struggle, and it's not without hardships either. There's a lot of bad that encompasses a twin flame. And the reason being is because you are a mirror of them. Like, you are your twin flame in an essence. So when you sign this contract with your twin flame, you start as one soul, and then your soul split to take on different journeys to help ascension. So essentially it is to help raise the vibrations and the frequencies faster so that we can all be closer to 5D together. Twin flames are not meant to cross paths in the same lifetime, especially not on Earth in the physical. Most twin flames will both be on the physical plane. However, they meet astrally and they don't ever physically meet. From just what people that I have talked to that are twin flames, and I don't want to say like quote unquote twin flames, because it's everybody's journey. If it's your truth is your truth, but there are false twin flames, there are karmics, there are a whole bunch of different things that
Can you explain what that is? What is a false twin flame and what is a karmic? Because I've often wondered myself if my ex-husband is a karmic. So what qualifies for a false twin and a karmic?
So a false twin flame would be more something that would fall into your lap and present itself as a twin flame. Like, you're gonna have similar things that make you feel like this is a twin flame. Like, you have that instant connection, you have that soul recognition, you have the to a certain extent you have the telepathy, but then when it comes down to the nitty gritty and you're staring yourself in the face, the fight or flight type part of a false,
Oh, like the
the flight,
chaser and the runner, that crap. How
right,
people use
right.
that as an
So,
excuse to hang on forever.
well, yes and no. We have, Ray and I have been very much through the chaser and runner phases
Oh,
for very different things, but um, with a false, when they run and the chaser is chasing, you can never catch them.
okay.
They're gone. They're gone. You learned your lesson from them, and you will eventually come to the realization that this was not your true twin flame, because you will start to lose interest.
And what is the purpose of that, the false twin? Is it so that you can learn that lesson?
It's a lesson. Yeah, it is a lesson. So you can identify how it feels when those things come. Everything revolves around love. So it's teaching you about the love,
Okay.
and how you are going to receive it, and how it's going to feel once, and if you ever do come in contact with your twin flame in this lifetime. A karmic is going to be more of just a 100% lesson for you. It has nothing to do with, they will still try to tell you that they are your twin flame. There will be flags for that person saying,
Well,
yeah, I don't.
they'll use the word twin flame because, like say with my ex, for instance, everything felt very similar to a twin flame. And I mean, at the time I didn't know. We had the instant soul recognition, the telepathy, the reading each other's thoughts, all that. But and then the lessons were there, but everything is just very intense to the nth degree. Like the love is really intense, the sex is really intense, the hate is really intense, like everything. And at first I thought it was like, oh, because we're Scorpios, it's a Scorpio thing. Because I mean, let's face it, Scorpios are like that, right?
Right. Intense. Right. Absolutely.
Right. So see, that's what I'm saying about, would a karmic have that level of intensity? And since a karmic is a big fat freaking lesson, I would think that if the intensity isn't there, you're not going to want to take the lesson, right? So maybe
Right.
need some intensity.
I mean, I cannot say for certain, because I've never had, I've never had to deal with a karmic before. I mean, I've had major lessons thrown in my face through other people, but to the extreme of a karmic. And I mean, one of the relationships that I had could have very well been a karmic, but I knew instantly that it was a lesson. Like I already knew my twin. I already knew that I had that person. So,
okay. So then maybe like a karmic is like, for me, I would think it'd be like someone that you do feel magnetized to so that you can complete the lesson, but then you're able to eventually, hopefully, let it go and get out of that. Because it's like
right.
quicksand. I mean, it's not going to end well.
No.
Sounds like.
No, they don't end well. And just from my experience and just from talking to people that have been in different types of relationships and everything, karmics usually end in not always fatal, but like extreme, like someone has a heart attack or so, like extreme things happen in these lessons, not necessarily death, but like someone is hospitalized for their diabetes, or some kind of major health issue pops up, and that's when you realize that this person is not staying around.
Okay, so they take off when the going gets tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get off topic and I go way left, so you'd have to bring me back.
Okay. So what's your story? How did take us to the beginning?
Okay. So in the very beginning, when I first heard about this person, his name is Ray. When I first heard about this person, I was very, very young in my teens. I may not have even been a teenager yet. I could have been 11, 12 years old, because I have a mutual friend that was involved with Ray's brother. So, and Ray was older than us, 4 years older than us, which is a very big deal when you're that young.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
he was in the immediate circle that I was in. However, we were not friends at that point. We just knew who each other were. Early teens is the first encounter that I had with him, and it was instantaneous. Like, the moment he opened his mouth, I knew this person, and I knew I was going to be with this person. I knew I loved this person. I didn't know how I knew any of this stuff. And
Wow.
I was very much not woke. I mean, I was I was an adolescent. There, I wasn't even
Wow.
mature on that level, you know. And I mean, I even tell my friend this, and she's like, "You're insane. What are you talking
Well,
about?"
people that have never experienced it, come on, you can't even go there. It's a totally different language.
Right, absolutely. So the first time that we met, you know, that happened, and then we kind of went on different paths for a little while. We grew as individuals. However, we still had like a connection in our minds. I had no idea about astral planes, telepathy. I knew nothing of any of these things when I was then, you know, but I just thought that this was normal. People just did this.
Yeah.
They
Mhm.
fantasized about, like, they pick one person and they just fantasize over that person. You know how when you are growing up, you have like your idol that's like
Yeah, like a movie star
a movie
crush.
star.
Mhm.
Right, right. You have that. He was my idol. Like, he was my
That's
thing, and
crazy.
everybody's like
Yeah.
crushing on New Kids on the Block, or you know,
Right.
LL Cool J or whatever, and I'm crushing on Ray. Like, I'm crushing on
That's
this.
so funny.
Right. If I could have had posters of him, I would have.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. Yeah.
So the first time that we actually physically were together and sexually, it was a very, very spiritual connection. It was, you know, so I lost my virginity to him, and just listening to other people tell me how they lost their virginity, I'm like, nope. I don't want to go there. That sounds terrible. That sounds awful.
Mm-hmm.
This was not awful. This was not awful at all. It was even more of a connection. Like, it drove home, and it made me deeper inside realize that what I had been feeling and what I had going on in my head was not something that I had made up.
So it
This
validated
was
you and it solidified your
it.
connection.
Absolutely. At 15 years old, who does that? You know
Wow.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I'm at 15, I'm still thinking, I am obsessed with this person. What, like, I need to stop. Like, this is not healthy. But
Mhm.
at every turn, like, everything is bringing me back to him, and
Wow.
vice versa. Everything is bringing him back to me. We would have things happen in our lives, and we always fell back on each other for whatever reason. A 4-year difference when you're 15 years old is a big deal,
Yeah.
but we always fell on each other.
Mhm.
He joined the military. He got married, and he had children. We stayed in contact as friends, you know, things. There was somebody that I was seeing. We talked about our relationships to each other. We kind of played off of each other's, you know, fields. He, you know, I got a male perspective from him, and he got a female
Oh, that's
perspective from me.
amazing. So you never lost
Yeah,
the connection.
no. I mean, there would be, you know, times where maybe we would go 6-8 months and not talk to each other, but it was like the moment that we talked to each other again, it was like we never stopped.
Wow.
And we would always say, why did we stop talking? This is ridiculous. We need to not do that. We're too much connected, and we get so much from each other. We need to not do that.
Wow.
And so the next time that we became even closer was when he was going through a divorce. And it was kind of like, I was kind of his pillow, you know, kind of lessen the blow for him. And not that they, it was not a bad divorce. They just, They married very young. They had children. They were both trying to make it work for the kids.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
they
mean,
stayed friends.
divorce is always horrible, no matter what.
Right.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah. But they didn't fight. Like, it wasn't a battle for custody. They shared custody. Like, they didn't fight for things or anything. It was very mutual between them. And they remained friends, like good friends. They talked a lot. And she is not a bad person. She is a very good person. She's a great mother as well. But I kind of became his soft spot, kind of his safe place, to where he knew that he could vent and get out. Yeah. Get out things that he knew wouldn't get back to her. Because he didn't want to make the divorce ugly. He didn't want there to be a struggle. He didn't want any of that, but he wanted to be done. And he didn't feel comfortable telling that to, like his homeboy or anything. He didn't want to be like, well,
Yeah.
I love her, but not like that.
Well, he was able to process his feelings with you.
Right. So that's kind of when we realized that there was something very much more between us than with normal friendships. And like, going back, you got to remember, like, this was my first real love experience. So I didn't have, I've had other relationships, but I didn't really, I compared everything to that, and nothing compared to it. So my first real communication and in love type feeling was with my twin flame. And that is not, I don't feel like that is something that just happens to most people. It's, we were chosen for this to happen to us because of how strong we both are, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah. So you came in with this already. So it's not like it happened on this planet. It was predestined to happen.
Right. So in this lifetime, this was our third in this lifetime that I am in right now. I do know that this lifetime, when he came into this lifetime, it was because he chose to. It wasn't because he needed to come back to learn any lessons. He chose to come back for me.
Wow. And you had to come back? Did you have to come back for lessons?
Yes, absolutely. I had to come back to learn love.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely, to learn love, because there, in our past lives, there were no children involved. And, yes, I very much love Ray, very much love him, but the love for your partner versus the love for your children is very different.
Yeah.
It is very, very different. And I also needed to experience more loss so that love could grow, and that love, like, I could fully understand what it feels like to love and lose.
Wow.
And then love again,
Wow.
and
I
have
see how that love doesn't go anywhere. It's permanent,
it doesn't go
or
anywhere.
intensifies even.
Right, it does. And now I've got goosies, but I have 100% learned those lessons. Can I learn more from them? Absolutely. I learn stuff every single day from him. And so one thing that I haven't said is that, well, we'll get there. So when he's going through the divorce, we become very, very close friends. Once his divorce is final, we start dating. And it's not a really
exclusive,
right? And I did that on purpose, just to kind of guard myself, which in hindsight, probably was a lesson for myself. But I did it because, he was just coming out of a relationship, and I didn't want to be that rebound person. I still had the 3D mindset. I still was not awake. And I feel like he was, I don't want to say he was fully awake at that point, but there were definite times that, looking back, things that he said that did not come from a person that was
Asleep.
asleep.
Mhm.
Right. He had some kind of knowledge of something that was going on. So during that period, you know, we both dated different people. He became involved with someone else that was a karmic for him. And it was something that his inner demons could not let go of. His darkness and her darkness kind of were like magnets,
Mm.
and not in a good way. The person that I was seeing, I was very open with him about everything with Ray, you know, and there was a lot of jealousy with that other person. There was also a lot of jealousy with Ray. I tried not to show my jealousy while he was dating this other person, but I could see what it was doing to him. And
Mm.
it broke me, you know,
And
I
could
mean, it really hurt my
could
heart.
Ray see it? Could Ray see
Um,
what was happening?
there were times, yes, but for the most part, he didn't know how damaging it was to his soul.
Mm.
He didn't realize the the whole damage as a whole that it was doing.
Toxicity.
Right, right. I mean, he knew that she was toxic, and he knew that she drew the bad out in him, but
Mm.
he didn't know how to let go of that. Physically, yes. I mean, he physically let go of it, but there were parts of him that couldn't let go because her darkness would not let go.
Mm.
Um, so, I mean, there's that.
Yeah,
um,
but I'm sure a lot of people, and just hearing you say that, I know a lot of people can relate to that because you know that time when you're in a relationship and you know this is toxic as fuck, and you bring out the worst in me, I bring out the worst in you, but like nobody wants to let go because it's so
right.
familiar. And better the devil that you know than the devil that you don't, because change or new is so scary.
Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of comes around full circle to the whole twin flame thing with him and I too, because we, when we signed this contract, it was not with the intent for us to be together, because
Oh, wow.
we are supposed to be separate so we can do these things separately and help the ascension of everyone 3D and bring the veils closer together.
Okay.
So we knew this. We knew, you know, that was not what our contract was written to do, is to be together. But through all of that, the love for each other was so strong that we kept coming back together.
Wow.
Um, and it is still intense. So, you know, once we decided, you know, what are we doing? This is dumb. I mean, we're, we just need to be together. So we did. We decided in 2009, we decided that we were going to be a couple. We were gonna do this thing, right? So we did, and it was not all peaches and cream. I mean, I love that man with everything in me, and he loves me with everything in him. But we are so much alike because we are mirrors of each other that we would battle about dumb stuff for no reason. And then, you know how they say you break up to make up?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, with a twin flame, that girl.
That sounds real Scorpio though.
It is very
But
Scorpio. It is very Scorpio. But you know, I mean, we're both Scorpios too, and I
yeah.
feel like there a lot of twins, people that have a twin flame, are actual Scorpios, because it just
The
because we
freaking
have the
underworld.
fire and intensity,
Wow.
and I don't know any other way to compare it except
It's very
for, you know,
obsessive.
fire and intense, and everything is intense about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was not, there were things. So on top of all of this, keep in mind that, you know, this ex of his would bring out his darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and he he was not the greatest at controlling this darkness. On top of that, in the physical, he had several brain injuries. So there were also physical misfires going on, you know, mentally as well as spiritually with him. So there were things that he would say that would break my heart. Like, how in the world could you say something like that to someone that you love, that you claim to love, and then 10 minutes later say, I never said that?
Wow.
And I'm looking at you like, what? Are you just like making excuses to be shitty to me? Like, what is happening?
And do you think he
To
had
the
like entity attachments from the other chick? Because you know that
I
happens too.
absolutely I do. Absolutely. And I am
Because
not.
from my experience anyway with my ex, the thing in her wants to eat. So it takes your light. So it uses
Right.
Ray's the puppet, like my ex,
Right.
and it uses that because you have so much light to take your light, because really the goal is to bring you down through
Right.
the puppet.
Well,
Yeah.
well, and him as well, because I
Yeah.
something that I didn't really dive deep into until, you know, just within the last year and a half, is that the demons really play off of highly psychic people, because they know that there's an in.
What do you mean?
Well, they know that it's not somebody that's just walking around with blinders on. Like, we know that these demons exist, and we know that these demons can try to control us and can try to do all of these things to us. A lot of us are strong enough to where we don't let them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a darkness that's battling against your darkness and bringing that barrier down and down and down and down, the demons can see that, and they're like, you know what? And they swoop right in, and they,
Crack.
yeah. So it got to the point to where I was like, I have to record him. Like, that's something that I never wanted to do, or felt like, you know, why should I have to record my spouse to prove that I'm not lying?
Mm-hmm.
But as things happened, you know, I could tell that he was, honestly, he did not believe that he was saying these things.
Wow.
And looking back, he wasn't. It was someone that he was possessed.
Okay.
And you know, when the first time that I did play back what he had said, something that he had said to me, he was like, how in the world, why would I say something like that to someone that I love? There's no way that I could say anything like that to you. That is not me. And I'm like, that is a video of you. This is a video of you saying those words. And he's like, no, that is not me. Yes, that is my physical body. That is not me. I would not say that to you.
Wow.
And so, you know, we go through all of this, and then I found out that I had a brain tumor, and we go try to figure out what's happening with this, where it came from. You know, come to find out, it appears that I had this very small pituitary tumor since I started puberty, like for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been causing massive migraines, and I had blackout spells at some points, not very many, but it was growing to the point where I was having seizures.
Wow.
So of course it was a concern. We had a dog that we trained to be my seizure dog, you know, so I could, if I was alone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the dog could help me.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically though, And ironic is a word that I use loosely because that's not ironic.
Right.
It happened for a reason. But the I only had one seizure when I was not with Ray. Every other time I was with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he protected me. And he even asked me at one point, so I had a seizure in the middle of the night, and I guess I didn't wake up at all. I didn't even know. And he asked me a couple days later, do you know when you have seizures? And I said, yeah, because I'm really tired and disoriented, and I'm really thirsty. And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, well, yada, 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 the other day, in the middle of the night, you had a seizure. And I said, well, what did you do? He said, I held you and I told you to breathe. Like you weren't breathing, like you were gasping for air. And I told you to breathe, and I told you that I loved you and that I was here for you. And then you sat up and you sat there for a few minutes and you looked at me and you said, I love you. And you went back to bed. I was like,
okay.
Oh, okay. No, I don't remember that. So that is, kind of what started not really triggering fear, because I knew at that point that something was happening with me that was I don't want to use the word supernatural, but just for the sake of people being able to understand what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
supernatural. It was not something I believed that what was going on with me was for a greater good.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, I absolutely did not want to have brain surgery. So I had two options: brain surgery, or I could take a medication to try and shrink it.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided on the medication to try to shrink it. Let me rewind. Ray and I had been trying to have kids, and I had been told that I couldn't because of hormonal issues, the way that my uterus was tilted. I have ovary issues. Yeah, there are just a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
female things going on. So we got to the point where we were fine with that. When his kids grew and got out of school, we were gonna travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking this medication, and little did I know that this medication was used for fertility. And yeah, well, and my doctor didn't question it either, because I was 35 years old, no kids. We had the conversation that we weren't going to have kids,
Mm-hmm.
and that I couldn't have kids, all of this. So it wasn't anything that my doctor was like, well, I shouldn't put her on this because,
Right. Mm-hmm. It wasn't part of the plan.
Right. When I was going through the taking the medication, there was a night that and I remember this very vividly. I was sitting on the middle of the bed, and like my legs were hanging over the bed, and he was sitting on the floor, and he was rubbing my feet. And he looked up at me and he said, I'm going to lose you in childbirth. I'm going to lose you, and I'm going to have to look our son in the eyes every day and see your eyes and see you every day. And at that, then I'm like thinking to myself, you're crazy. We can't have
Did he have
kids.
like a vision or a knowing, or what came over him?
He just said it. He just said it. Yeah. And he would say things like that.
Like channel things all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he would say things like that often. And I was like, yeah, that would be, you're not going to lose me.
Yeah.
But you are not going to lose me ever. But our son will be beautiful. I know that. And, at that point, I was kind of just feeding that to him because,
yeah,
whatever. I was 35 years old. And
pacify him, yeah.
Right. Right. Little did I know I was pregnant. I did not know that, but I was pregnant.
Well, something in him knew. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So April 2016, I went into labor prematurely. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, And my son was born at 22 weeks, which was too early for the hospital that I was in to do anything.
Yeah, they're not.
Right. I mean, knowing what I know now, I would have requested to be transferred to a different hospital so they could have done more for my son that they didn't do. But, you know, we trusted that the doctors knew everything that there was to know. Like, we didn't know that there was alternatives. We didn't know that they could give me something, give me a steroid that would help my son's lungs develop. We didn't know that they could give me something to stop my contractions. We didn't know any of these things. So the lesson that I learned with that particular thing is to research and learn and trust my gut, because I felt like I was being made to be comfortable. That's how I felt. But I had nothing to base that off of because I didn't have that medical knowledge, you know. So I was like, I am just in a situation to where I am overwhelming myself. I'm making more out of this and what, you know, I just convinced myself that I was wrong and I shouldn't have. So my son was born. He took his first and last breaths in my arms.
Oh. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. When I was in active labor, Ray said that he saw a light coming from the ceiling shining on my womb. Wow. And he saw the light disappear. And within 10 minutes, our son was born. So I'm a crier. I'm not going to cry about my son because he is still with me. And my son's purpose in life was to heal me, because since then, my tumor has yet to come back. It is gone. It is 100% gone.
Wow.
So my son's purpose was to heal me. It was not my time.
Since the tumor and all the activity was by your pituitary gland, did you notice any like psychic abilities emerge because of that? Or did you stay the same?
Like after my son or before?
Whenever, just related to that situation.
So after, absolutely, yes. I think that like that is when I actually woke up, is when I lost my son. Actually, I think it was before he was even born. While I was in the hospital is when things started becoming more and more clear to me that this physical that we are in is not, we are learning things, really. And there is so much more beyond what we are physically doing in our flesh suits.
A limited perspective. We're in a very limited view of
right, and we're only allowed to see certain things, and you know,
a portion, really.
Right, a portion. So you know, Ray's vision, whatever it was that he saw, he was pretty spot on, except there was a little difference. So he decided on his own that he was going to have a vasectomy. And he didn't tell me about it until afterwards. I was very upset with him. I was going to a therapist, you know, because we just lost our son.
Right.
And I was telling my therapist about it, and he actually asked me how I felt about inviting him to the session. I was like, I have no problems with that. I just didn't know how he would feel about it. Cause you know, he's a dude, he's, you know, trying to be the macho, whatever. Whenever I asked him about it, and he was like, absolutely, I'll go with you. Anything that I can do to support you, I will go. Wow. I didn't want to take that away from you.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to intrude. Like, that is you, and that is helping you heal. And I didn't want to make it about me. So he did go. And that's when I learned that the reason why he had the vasectomy is because he never wanted to be the reason to cause me that much spiritual, emotional, and physical pain ever again.
Well, did part of him think that his vision or his knowing was going to come true, that you were going to die?
I think so. I think so. Absolutely, I do. And he didn't want to be the reason that happened again. We continued going to counseling. I absolutely wanted to have another child. Absolutely, without a doubt, wanted to have another child. So I was very upset with him, to the point to where, we separated for like a good 2 months.
Wow.
And when I say separated, he went and stayed with his mom. Like, we just weren't living together. We still communicated, we still talked, we still were together. We just did not live together for almost 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Then we decided that, I decided that I was going to go through fertility and do artificial insemination and do all of these things. And he was either going to be on board or he wasn't going to be on board. Like,
wow. Yeah.
This is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happening. You can either accept it or not accept it. And he was very open about it, very, very open about it. And he wanted to be part of choosing the donor and all of that. So
that's huge.
Yeah. So he did, like, he helped me pick the donor. We did all of that. And in August of 2017, our daughter was born, and she was born early, but she was born healthy early.
Mm-hmm.
She did have to stay in the NICU for 3 days. However, the issues were not with her. The reason why they kept her is just because she was a little premature, and they wanted to make sure that her lungs were working well and all of this. The issue was with me. The reason why she was born early is because I almost died.
Wow. Was it the uterus issues?
No. It was blood pressure. I had preeclampsia terribly.
Wow.
And what was scary about it is that I had no physical symptoms. I did not know that my blood pressure was that high. There was nothing. Like, I felt no different.
Yeah, I had preeclampsia too with my daughter, and you don't feel anything, and then the doctors
didn't
freaking out like she's gonna die. It's your body rejecting the baby, pretty much.
Right. So I went to it was 29-week appointment, right? I wasn't scheduled to see my doctor that day. I was just doing, they were just going to put the machine on me and check the fetal movement and everything. And the nurse checked my blood pressure, and she was like, it's a little high, but I'm going to check it again before you leave, because, you're just coming in and you had to walk across the parking lot, and you're big pregnant, and, all of these things. And when she took my blood pressure, she said, it's a little high, but it's not anything that I'm concerned about. And I asked her what it was, and she told me, and I said, that's actually high for me. Like, I have low blood pressure. That is high for me. And she was like, okay, then I'm going to call him in, and I want him to take your blood pressure as well. So we went through, did the fetal monitor and all of that stuff. And then my doctor came in and checked my blood pressure, and he said, it's not alarmingly high, but however, I hear that this is not typical for you. And he said, and I'm looking at your blood pressures, and when you first started coming here, it was very low, and it started getting higher and higher, which is part of pregnancy. But if this is alarmingly high to you, it's alarmingly high to me. So I'm going to send you to the hospital where you plan on having her. And we're going to check your urine, and you're going to have to pee in a cup for the next 24 hours, basically. And I was like, okay. So I went, and we started that, and I wasn't even there 4 hours before. So they went in to take the cerclage. I had to have my cervix sewn shut, because that's why I went into labor early with Caleb, with our son. So they went in to take the cerclage out, and that like triggered everything, to the point to where they asked where Ray was. Like, he needed to, and he was working out of town. Like, he worked in the oil industry. So he was out of town a lot. And he was about 3.5 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
Driving distance, I mean, he could get there, but he still was not close.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom called him and said, I mean, Valerie's in the hospital. We're doing yada, 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 whatever. The doctor is saying that you need to come.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, is she okay? As far as I know right now, she is okay. Yes, both of them are fine. But he is saying that you should probably come.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking her cerclage out. And, when that happens, you can either go a month or you could go a couple hours.
Wow.
Like
Mm-hmm.
if you really have major issues with your cervix opening, you take that cerclage out, you could just dilate, just start dilating.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So within a couple of hours of them taking the cerclage out, I was already at a 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so quick.
But she was not turned
Mm-hmm.
because I was still early, it was still early. When he got there is when things started going bad. They were putting me in different positions to try to help her turn on her own.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have natural birth. It was not happening. But it got to the point to where she was in distress and my blood pressure was so high that they were worried about me blacking out.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember them telling Ray what he needed to put on. And I remember him putting these things on, but that is really all, I was not very coherent at all.
Wow.
My blood pressure was so high that I was kind of like, what is happening?
Wow.
And we went into the emergency room, or we went into the operating room. They did the thing in your back.
Oh, the epidural. Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did the epidural. And then they did a feel test to see the level of what I could feel and what I couldn't feel. And I could feel pressure, but nothing was painful at all. And apparently they were pinching my skin with forceps. I could feel pressure of it, but it didn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So they started the C-section. When they were doing the initial cutting and the burning and the cauterizing and stuff, I could smell it and I could feel it, but it wasn't painful.
Mm-hmm.
When they started cutting my muscle, I felt every single bit of it. I was in so much pain. Oh my God.
What happened?
It was so bad. I don't know.
So then you had a spinal. That's a spinal, not an epidural, because an epidural is just for regular birth, but it only numbs your legs a little bit so you could still push. And the spinal is supposed to completely numb you, for an operation.
So I already had the epidural.
Did they know?
I had already. So I had the epidural when they took the cerclage out because they were having issues getting the cerclage out. So they gave me the epidural then. So when they took me to do the C-section was when they were supposed to do put the medicine for me to lose all feeling, which I did not lose all feeling.
Wow.
So I remember looking at Ray and I guess I had this look on my face because his face, he looked terrified.
Wow.
He looked terrified, and I had never seen him look like that before. And the anesthesiologist said, I'm putting you to sleep right now. You're going to go to sleep and you're not going to feel anything.
Oh, because they knew you told them that you could feel?
Right.
Okay.
I was screaming. Screaming.
Wow. Oh my God. How terrifying for everybody.
Right.
Wow.
So I just remember him saying that and then being the next thing that I remember very, very vaguely is Ray holding my daughter to my face so I could kiss her. That's all I remember. And my mom got a picture of that. So thank you, Mother. And then I remember waking up in my hospital room and no one was in there.
Wow.
No one was in there. So I pushed the little nurse button and I was like, where is everybody? Where's my child? Where's Ray? Where's my mom? Like, where is everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Where is my child? She's fine. She's in the NICU. She's fine. Everybody's there with her. Everything's fine. A nurse will be in there in just a minute. So we go in, the nurse comes in and I'm like, take me to my child.
Mm-hmm.
Take me to my child. I need to see my child. We can't take you until you can feel your legs. Like, this is just procedure. Like, we can't. And I'm like, okay, well, bring me Ray. I need him.
Mm-hmm.
I need him. And he came in there and he said, I have pictures. Do you want to see pictures? And I was like, the fuck are you asking for?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to see
Especially what you went through with your son. Oh my goodness.
Right. So he's showing me pictures and I can just see in his face, like, he is so in love. Like, he is so in love.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at my daughter and I'm like, she is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, look at how beautiful she is. And then, I was still in the hospital for another 2 weeks because my blood pressure wouldn't go down.
Wow.
And they were worried that I would get home and not know that my blood pressure was high and something would happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, Ray wouldn't be there, or, I would be there with an infant
Mm-hmm.
and be passed out or have a stroke even because my blood pressure was so high. So
now,
all of that happens.
When you mentioned of like when you looked at Ray and you guys were in the operating room for the C-section and you were feeling them cutting into your muscle, what came to mind was I wanted to know, did you have that telepathic relationship with him? Did you guys do that where like you didn't even have to say anything, you just knew?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Moving on. High blood pressure.
Moving on.
2 weeks.
So I get released. I get to go home. Ray took another 2 weeks off. So he was there with me for 2 weeks, but like, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks too. So he was off for a month. Like, he couldn't take any more time off. He had to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom, it was semi-retired at that time. So she was spending a lot of time with us, helping us as well. And then, so, we have our beautiful daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Our lives are like floating on air. We have the best life. And then comes her first birthday and, we have a blast. Like, everybody with their kid's first birthday, the birthday is really about the parents and not the kid because they don't know. They don't know. And her birthday, her first birthday was in August 2018. Then October 2018, on the 5th, I wake up in the morning and, Ray is there and I look at him and I was like, something today is significant. Please be careful. I love you. Today is significant. Just be careful.
What did you feel? Like, did you have a dream or was it just?
No. I just woke up and I just knew something was going to happen that was big that day. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know
with
who it was going to happen to. I didn't know any of that. I just knew that something was going to happen that day. And like, I harped on it all day to the point to where he was like annoyed with me, to the point to where after work, he was like, I'm going to go to Jose's house. We're going to drink. I'll probably just stay there if I start drinking, whatever. And I was like, okay, if you are going to be drinking, please stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Because he, number one, like, drinking and driving to me is not cool. But number two, he was on his bike. So like, even more not cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, when he didn't come home, I wasn't like worried or anything. The last text that I got from him was around 9:15 p.m. And then at 11:11 p.m.
Of course.
I get 11:11 p.m.
Which
I get a phone
by the
call.
way, the time that when we were discussing today about talking about twin flames, it was 11:11.
Yeah. I get a phone call that Ray has been in a motorcycle accident and it is not good. And that he was being taken to, this hospital that happens to be across the street from where I work. Like my window, I can see this hospital from where I work. So I called my mom. She came, she got Kinley, like she came to stay with our daughter, and I went to the hospital. And when I got there, he was in surgery. They were in surgery with him. And the surgery, like the first surgery, were in the first surgery. And it was mainly to find out where all of the blood loss was coming from and to try to stop some hemorrhaging. So then they come out and they say, we're going to have to do another surgery. And this one's going to be more of the internal, to find out what has happened with his organs. Right now, we don't care about his limbs. If we have to cut off his arms and legs, we will do that. But we need to find out what's been damaged internally. Okay. And then the surgeon comes into the waiting room at 1:11 a.m. Well, it was after that. Ray passed away at 1:11 a.m.
Wow.
And my life, I promise you right now, if Kinley were not here, my life would have ended that day as well.
Wow.
Because
that's probably why she is here.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say that I don't cry for losing my son, because I do. That's my son. I love my son. But the other part of me, I woke up with that morning, and that night I had to go to bed without him, and knew that he was never going to physically be in that bed with me ever again.
Wow.
But things started happening immediately. Like before I even knew that he had been in the car accident, things like Kinley has this little kitchen that has this little burner on it that makes sound when you put a pot on it. And that thing started making sounds by itself. And it was around like 10:30 or something. I wasn't really paying attention to the time. That's when his accident happened. So he immediately came to me and was trying to tell me, because he was confused. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't know why I couldn't see him playing with Kinley's kitchen. He was confused. And that happened for a couple of weeks, which opened me back up. I kind of went through
like a shutdown.
I did, but it was part of what I needed to go through to really reawaken everything that needed to happen. And since then, so that was October 2018. So it's been almost 2 years. It's been a year and a half. Things for us have really not changed, except his physical body is not here anymore. Our love is just as strong, if not stronger now than it ever was. And I'm not saying that I didn't love Ray. I did. I loved Ray so much that I would have taken my life if I knew I didn't have a child that depended on me. But the love that we share now is so much purer, because there's no bullshit. Like he looks through lenses of pure love. Like there's none of this.
And he understands. The ego's not there. The karmic isn't there. Can you mention that, how he died?
It was a motorcycle accident, and his karmic happened to be with him. they had gotten into an argument because she found my engagement ring. So they got into an argument, and she wanted to prove to him that he could trust her. And so on the motorcycle, she put her hands over his eyes and was guiding him with her voice. And he ran into the guardrails in the median of the highway.
Wow.
She lost an arm and had significant damage to a leg that she had quite a few surgeries on, and he lost his life.
Wow.
What I can tell you, though, is that when he was coming around that corner, his soul vacated his body.
Okay.
He watched the wreck happen.
Wow.
And then once his body was stationary, he went back into his body and decided that he was going to fight. He was going to fight as much as he could. When he vacated his body, he was met by our son and his grandfather.
Wow.
So he got to experience a little bit of that love before he went back into his body. Mm-hmm. And he did not pass away until the accident was at 10:30 p.m. Mm-hmm. and he passed away at 1:11 a.m.
Was there just too much damage to the physical body?
Yes. Yeah. And most of it was trauma to the head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's so then that day it still looked like him, because it was a fresh, like, swelling hadn't started or anything like that. But once we got him to the funeral home, his body to the funeral home, we really struggled with whether to have an open casket or not because of how much swelling there was to his face. It didn't look like him. Wow. At all. Mm-hmm.
And at all. So he was visiting you. When did the visits start? So he's playing with the kitchen. And did you have, I mean, you're in full-blown grief. You have a baby to take care of. Was there any other, except the kitchen, was there any other connection at that point, or was it too early?
So mainly it was the kitchen, but also like when I started cluing in that, because at first I thought, the batteries are dying on this thing. Mm-hmm. Like when it happened that night before, looking back, like when that happened is when the first time that he came out of his body, he was like, yo, something's happening. Yeah. I need you. Something is really happening. I don't know what's going on, but I need you. And I was just like, what the fuck? I'm going to have to change the batteries in that thing.
Wow. And it's really like Patrick Swayze in Ghost when he's trying to desperately talk to Demi Moore and she's like not even aware.
Right. And then, so once I got home and, I am in this bubble of grief, it's still happening, but I think I used it more as my comfort. Like, okay, this is Ray. I don't know what to do at this point, except to let it comfort me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I now know that, our thing is helping Ray and our thing is to help souls ascend. Had I known that at that point, I would have definitely helped him because, I mean, number one, I didn't know that I had that ability,
Mhm.
but
And what do you
um,
mean by that? When you say help souls ascend, do you mean
or help them
Passover
cross.
souls?
Yeah,
Passover
yeah,
souls? Okay, but not
help,
alive people.
right. No, 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 no.
Okay, so
People that,
cross over. Help people cross
right,
or souls cross.
that are either in a coma and they can't, like, they're not,
They're stuck.
they need, yeah, they need help figuring out which way to go.
Or what's
So,
going on, right? Because you said there was that moment where he's like, what the fuck? Like, where am I? What's
right,
going on?
what's going on? Yeah. Um, and ultimately, he succumbed to his injuries on his own
Mhm.
because he was ready to look into his son's eyes and see me every day.
Like he
He
saw.
was right.
Wow.
Um, and I, I believe that when his soul first came out of his body, he was given a glimpse of what was going to happen between us. And he knew,
Okay.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. So this is fine. Yes, she's going to have to go through this and it's going to be terrible, but I'm going to have to do everything that I can to make her
Mhm.
see that I am still there.
So
And
it's
he
kind
had,
of like you're both learning still throughout the separation. And I feel like people can even relate that to relationships now where you're not the other, nobody's passed away, but like there are relationships that separate and you grow separately because that's the only way it can happen. And then you come
right,
back better, newer, healed, more evolved, different, totally different. Well, even you guys did
right.
when you separated when you were a kid and then when you separated again when you were older.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so intense.
But he's still very much here. I mean, he's
So
sitting right
give us
next to me right
give us
now.
a he's sitting right next to you right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've been
Yeah.
trying to communicate with him, Ray. You know that. Um, what what started happening? So in the beginning, you start getting like you're using it for your comfort, but you probably in your mind think I'm batshit crazy because that's probably not him.
Right.
But I'm just going to use it anyway because
Right.
struggling. And then how did it escalate? How did you get like I can't deny it?
So it started with the morning of his funeral is when it really hit me. This is Ray. This is not my imagination.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with this kitchen. This is Ray. This is 100% Ray because it was the morning of his funeral. I was getting, I got ready. I took Kinley to my mom's house because I was going to ride with his mom and them. And then I didn't want Kinley at the actual funeral, but I
Mhm.
was going to take her to the reception,
Mhm.
like the afterwards, like when you have the
Mhm.
little meal or whatever.
Yeah.
So, um, as soon as as soon as I got home from dropping her off, like as I walked in the door, the kitchen was going, like it was going when I walked in,
Wow. Wow.
and I'm like,
Greeted you.
okay, right, like okay, Ray, I know this is you. I know it's you, and it would stop for a second, and then I would say, I love you, and it would start up again.
Wow.
Um, the entire time while I got ready, while I was in the shower, while I was blow drying my hair, everything, the entire time that I was getting ready, this kitchen was going off.
Wow.
I walked into the living room and I stood in front of this kitchen and I'm talking to him. And I said, Ray, I have to get ready. I have to finish getting ready. Today is your funeral. Today we're putting you in the ground. We are putting your body in the ground. I have to get ready. I don't want to be here, but I have to do this. Like I have to do this.
Yeah.
Not for you. I have to do this for me.
Hmm.
I have to do this. You have to let me do this. And it stopped.
Wow.
And I went and I finished getting ready.
You feel
And then
overwhelmed because of the sound? Like it was just making it harder, like an impossible situation more impossible?
yes, because it was like he was calling out to me and he was
Mhm.
saying, like the video that I sent you, I don't know if you could hear in the background, if you could hear his voice, but, and I couldn't hear it until I listened to the video, but repeatedly he is saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you,
Wow.
I love
I'm
you.
gonna try and
Like
include that.
repeatedly.
I'm gonna try and include that if I can figure out a way how.
Okay. So that's like the constant of the kitchen going off is just him constantly. And so once I'm done getting ready and I go into the living room and I'm standing there, I looked at him and I said, I love you. And the kitchen started going off again.
Wow.
And I was, babe, I have to go.
Mhm.
I have to go. And it kept going. And I had to physically take my hand and push the button to make it stop.
Wow.
As soon as I got out the door, like as I was closing the door, I heard it go off again. And I was like, Ray, just come with me. Just come with me. He did not want to be there. However, he made himself present long enough for me to notice and then was gone. And he made himself present via a janitor. Like, why would a janitor be walking down an aisle in the middle of a funeral ever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I looked at this janitor face to face, nothing. The profile was 100% Ray.
Wow.
100% Ray. And I looked to the side of me and my best friend was sitting there. And I said, please tell me you saw that. And she said, I did. Okay.
Wow.
And then after that is when I started, I came across a woman who is a medium. And I had read a lot about her and people's experiences with her. And I thought, I'm going to reach out to this lady because I need to learn how to connect with him. This is my life now.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to connect with him. So I sent her an email and like from all of the everything that I've read about her, I don't want to say she's sought after, but she was like busy. Like she was like a busy lady. Within 2 hours, she emailed me back and she asked if I had like a messenger phone number or something to where she could call me or I could call her. And I said, yeah, but I'm comfortable just giving you my phone number. Like, why am I giving the stranger my phone number, first of all, because that is not me. But I did. And why is a stranger wanting to call me? But she called me and she said, I am very drawn to tell you that you need to know that what you hear is legit. Like what you are hearing is real. And I'm like, what? Wow. She said, you are talking to someone. That someone is talking back to you. You are not making this up. And I was like, okay. So I want to hire you.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I had one reading with this lady and it was very, I was still very much in grief. I was still very much, in a place to where I just needed to know that I was not insane.
Yeah.
And she gave me that validation. And then Ray led me to another medium who she is still my spiritual coach. Like and we're very good friends now even. Who did so much validation for me as well, and who he is actually comfortable with, and to the point to where she has called me a couple of times in the middle of the night and said, can you tell Ray to come home? Like, like,
I better be quiet inviting him.
Right. He was just, well, at that point though, it was still very, like maybe he had been gone 6 months, like he hadn't been gone very long. And it was still very exciting for him that he was being able, like like I was actually receiving his messages. Someone was
Well,
receiving
that
his
people could
messages.
hear him, right? Because before
Right,
nobody could. So
right.
did he tell you, did he share with you his experience of like where he's at? What does it look like to him? What happened to him? How did it feel for him? Things like that.
So he has actually taken me to where
Whoa, taking
this
you.
journey started. Yes. And at first I thought this was just a dream. Okay. And when I told my spiritual coach about it, she said, Valerie, what he gave you is so special. People don't get that. He took you to where he went before he went through those gates.
Wow.
He, and so it's like he came into the bedroom. I sat up. I remember sitting up and looking back at my fleshy body laying in the bed.
Wow.
I grabbed his hand and we walked through the wall of our bedroom.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool.
On the other side of the wall of my bedroom was a bunch of grass. It was just beautiful, green, lush grass.
Mm-hmm.
And we were walking, but it was like we were gliding.
Mm.
And it like went on forever. Like there was no end in sight. And then we stopped and I turned around and looked back and I could see through our bedroom wall and I could see myself laying in that bed.
Wow.
And I remember looking at him and I could feel everything that he was feeling and he could feel everything that I was feeling. We were talking to each other, but we were just looking at each other.
So telepathically.
Mm-hmm.
And how did
And I
you
remember
feel there? How did it feel there in that grassy place?
it was so well, so the feeling that I had was like, I can't even describe it. Like it, love times a million or infinity. Like it, there's no, like, I felt so safe and so secure and so at ease and so at peace that nothing could hurt me and nothing could make that moment bad. Like nothing could stop that from happening. And when I was having this feeling, I remember looking to our left and it was like we were standing on clouds.
Wow.
When I looked to my right, I could see the grass and I could see my bedroom and all of like one way was the clouds and one way was so spiritual, physical. Like I'm standing in the middle of this. And I remember like looking and then I remember looking back at him and it's like I could hear what he was saying, but I felt it. Like I could hear words, but his mouth was not moving, but I could feel it in my bones. Him saying, I love you so much and I want to take you with me, but I cannot, but this is not the end. This is not the end for us. And I'm like telling him, I believe you. I believe you. I believe you. I love you so much. I love you so much. And then I looked back at my fleshy body and then I looked back at the clouds and then I went to look back at him and he was not there.
Wow.
And I remember waking up and I was in bed. So I tell my coach about this and she was like, that was no dream, honey. That was more than a visitation. Like you were not here. You were not here.
Yeah.
You were 100% in the heavens. And he wanted you to see, he needed you to know what he feels so that you know he is not in pain and that he is okay. That he is okay and that you are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, from that point forward is when our communication between each other became even stronger. Like,
Well,
I
I
can
imagine
hear
you
him.
probably let him in more because you let go of that grief and that pain.
Yeah.
You were more at peace, right?
I was more at peace. Yeah. Because I felt true peace. Like I felt peace.
Mm-hmm.
I had never felt that before.
Wow.
I thought I had, but I
Wow. So
hadn't.
that's just a testament also to how much density and fear is on this planet.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I can't say like at the before he passed away that I was ever scared to die, because I've never really been
Mm-hmm.
afraid of dying. Um, but I can tell you, like, without a shadow of a doubt, it is so much better than here.
Wow.
Better
That's
than
so
here. It's,
exciting. And I hope that
yeah,
brings peace to anybody who's lost someone, because we're the ones in pain.
yeah. We are the ones in pain. And so I can tell you, just because I now communicate with him a lot, and he does a lot of communicating with his soul tribes and things there,
Mm-hmm.
and relays information to me to help people. So a lot of, as crazy as this sounds, because I am a medium,
Mm-hmm.
he is my medium. Like I do a lot of
Well, you guys
communicating
are still
with,
very twin flamey and working like in tandem.
right.
Pretty
I
cool.
do a lot of communicating with other people through him,
Mm-hmm.
because I can hear him so clearly. I can get things from other people, but it's like pieced together, and I have to piece the stories together. And sometimes it comes out like kind of like people are like, well, yeah, that's kind of right, but you know, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense about this, and this. I just couldn't put the pieces together. But Ray and I can communicate like you and I are talking right now.
Wow, that's so
I
exciting.
I hear him very clearly. I feel him as if his fleshy body was sitting right next to me. I
And you
can
said he
see,
is with you, right? He's been with you?
right.
Still with you right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's
That's so
not going.
exciting.
This is like make me famous type moment. He's not going anywhere.
I was telling him that when I was getting ready. I'm like, okay, Ray, you're gonna be the star.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But like I can see his energy. And it's with a lot of other souls that I do mediumship with, like I can feel their light, or I can see their aura,
Mm-hmm.
but only a few times have I actually seen another person. And usually it is presented as like spirit will show me, like, let's say the spirit that I'm connecting with is a middle-aged bald man. So spirit will show me my uncle. So I can relate that as, okay, this is a middle-aged older gentleman that's bald,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm seeing my uncle, and my uncle's very much alive.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, they'll show me like um my mom holding like a K. Her name is Christy. And I'm like, okay, the person that I am talking to is a woman, probably a mother, probably a grandmother, with a K in her name. Like that's what, like, I can't,
Yeah, like a metaphor.
right. I can't see them
Mm-hmm.
like I see Ray. I see Ray.
So Ray is the one that you see completely, but when it's somebody else, because it's attached, it's clues.
Right. Right.
Wow. And so what what is the extent of your communication, of your involvement with Ray right now? Like, is it all the time? Is it in and out? Is it like, what is that like?
Right now it is all the time. It is all the time. We go, now I'm not going to say, like, when I go to sleep, he is here with me when I go to sleep. I know that once I go to sleep, he is not here the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If I wake up and need him, he will be here in a split second. However, you know, he's also comforting his older children. He's comforting our daughter, his family. You know, I mean, there are other people that he has to check on, but we have to understand and remember that time is a construct to us. Like, what is 10 minutes to us is like light speed to them. Like they can be in so many different places at one time. So he could be here with me, helping me go to sleep, and at the same time helping his 16-year-old son with homework. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way that it works there. And so right now, he is with me all of the time. If there's ever a time that I don't feel him and I think about him, he's there. Like
So you can communicate with him through thought or speaking, both?
Yes, both. Yeah.
Wow.
Now there was a time to where it was like a 2-month span to where I could not communicate with him and he could not communicate with me. And the reason being is because there was some lessons that both of us needed to go through. Number one, it started as meditation and it ended in a visitation with Archangel Michael and with Ray. So the part that is important is the part that was with Ray, and he was pleading with me to believe to make sure that I believed in us, that I believed in our relationship, and that I believed that it was real and that it was true. And no matter what anyone said, he needed me to believe that before he could tell me what he needed to tell me. And I was like, I believe you. I absolutely 100% wholehearted believe that our relationship has not stopped. We are very much still in a relationship. It's just in 2 different dimensions. Like you are just in a different form.
Long distance to the max.
Right.
So how interesting though that brings up an interesting point of how he needs you to believe. And I feel like that right there is the basis to everything, to creating your reality, to what you can manifest, what like you can draw things to you based on your belief, and like not letting go of that belief, because if you believe it can happen, that's how you keep the door open, right? So he
Right,
needs
absolutely.
to keep the door open.
Right.
Because doubt will close the door.
Absolutely it will. And I'm not going to lie, there have been times that I have closed that door, not intentionally, but another thing that we have to remember is like when we feel like, so if we're going through a deep grief or something is consuming us to where we're not all there, it makes it, and then it feels like our loved ones aren't there with us. Like, where are they? I am in so much pain and I'm in so much grief and I need him right now.
Oh, like give me a sign, give me a sign.
Right. It is just making it that much harder for them to connect with you because you are lowering your vibrations so much that they can't lower, it is just not possible for them to lower their vibrations that low to meet you there. So when we're going through these things, and I have been there, like so deep in grief that I'm like, what is happening? I just need Ray. I need Ray, and he's nowhere. Well, he is
abandoned, right? You feel abandoned.
Right. He is there. I am just so caught up in being sad that I can't feel him and I can't communicate with him because there's like no
it's like being
vibrational frequency going on with me.
It's like being drunk, right? You're so drunk on the sadness that you can't hear.
Right. Absolutely.
Wow.
But so he, he wants me to believe, and I do. And I will tell my story to anyone. And if you don't believe in me, that is perfectly your thing.
You're right. Yeah.
But, yeah. But I believe and I know, and I have proof. I have been given all kinds of things. Like this is just my life now.
Yeah.
And the reason why he wanted me to believe is because he had to go. he had to go and he had to take care of some things to where we weren't going to be able to communicate for a couple of months.
Mhm.
Now, I'm gonna, like, the first time that I went and saw my spiritual coach, he had I don't know if you just heard my shower or not, but the water just started dripping. The water just
Right,
started dripping.
again.
Shower,
Yeah.
yeah.